someone was able to ask God to mold the greatest prize fighter that you can possibly mold, it would be Sugar Ray Robinson.
When you look at Muhammad Ali, you're looking at Sugar Ray. I mean, it was almost an identical picture the way he boxed and Sugar Ray boxed.
Sugar Ray was somewhat of a mystery. He was very guarded. He didn't take people into his confidence.
When he died, I said, I don't give a shit. There's no sense of putting on any act now and feel sorry for the son of a bitch, because he's the most arrogant person you ever run into.
Robinson, I believe, was the first black athlete who could be great and at the same time say, I'm cocky today. I don't like it that way. This is how I feel, and not be ridiculed for it.
We should remember Ray Robinson because he was the one perfect fighter. He was an American original, a genius at his art form. And there was a tragic dark side, as there are to almost all geniuses.
My name is Sugar Ray Robinson. It wasn't always Sugar Ray Robinson. I was born Walker Smith, May 3rd, 1921.
Ray was born in Georgia, and his family moved to Detroit, and they lived in an area called Black Bottom. And as Ray said, they called it Black because that's what we were, and Bottom because that's where we were at.
He liked sports, and he would ride on the streetcar going down to Brewster Center. It's a place where the young fellows boxed, and that's where he met Joe Louis. He was so fascinated by this young man, Joe Louis. He would carry his bags home and all that. And then when he'd come home, he would do this crazy shadow boxing. My mother didn't know what it was. She just thought he was crazy.
Well, around election time, 1932, Robinson's mother, who was only earning $10 a week, decided it was worthwhile moving to New York for $15 a week. And they packed the whole family up, got on the bus, and went to New York.
And they lived a hard life of a single mother. He would do things like shine shoes, dance in the street for pennies, do all sorts of odd jobs to make money just to make ends meet.
And he got into boxing at the Salem Crescent Athletic Club with George Gainford as the trainer. At first he just made the trips with the boxers. And one night he was on a trip and they needed another fighter. So George Gainford would have all these cards for all his fighters, and he took a card out, and the card's name was Ray Robinson, who was really another fighter. And he gave the card to the guy we now call Ray, whose real name was Walker Smith, and said, well, you're Ray Robinson tonight. So he won that fight, and then he won a couple more, and it turned out he was Ray Robinson forever after that.
One of the newspaper men remarked to George Gainford, my manager, that I was the sweet fighter. And George replied, sweet as sugar. And since that time, Sugar Ray Robinson has been added.
His official amateur record is 85 straight wins, 69 knockouts, 40 in the first round. Now that is a phenomenal amateur record. He entered the Golden Gloves in 1939 as a 126-pound featherweight, winning that title. In the following year, he repeated winning a gloves title, but in the lightweight division, 135 pounds. And shortly thereafter turned pro.
His debut was in Madison Square Garden, which was very unusual for a rookie pro in his first fight. And he fought a guy named Jose Echeverria and knocked him out in the second round. And he won his first 40 fights and was an instant sensation. I mean, he just beat everybody.
It was very hard to keep cool in Harlem during the summer, so he liked to go to the swimming pool. And one day he saw a young lady with the prettiest pair of legs he's ever seen in his life, and he wanted to get her attention, so the best thing he could come up with was pushing her in the pool.
he pushed me in the pool. He said, if that girl passes up this way one more time, I'm going to throw her in this water.
One thing led to another, and he discovered that she was a dancer. She had danced at the Cotton Club with Lena Horne, and she played hard to get for a while, but eventually he won her over with his persistence.
I finally told him, if you propose to me one more time and have me go and take that blood test, I'm going to be bloodless, because every time I turn around, you have me take the test, and there is no marriage. So if we are not married on the next one, I'm going to leave.
He said, I want you to be with me. I want you to be able to come to camp and spend time with me. And then they got married.
Mrs. Robinson, Ray says he wants to be babied. What do you plan to do about that?
As much as I can and as often as I can.
Cook his favorite food and so forth?
Of course. The best food, the best of everything for this sugar daddy.
Robinson, early in his career, was so good that he was running out of welterweight challenges. And in order to get opponents, he would go into the next division. And one of the fighters he faced was the Bronx Bull, Jake LaMotta.
Sugar Ray's first fight with Jake LaMotta was in late 1942 in New York City. Sugar Ray won in 10 rounds.
He was offered a rematch with LaMotta in Detroit. LaMotta upset Robinson. Now keep in mind, LaMotta might have had 19 pounds on him. Well, naturally, he wanted a rematch, but he took a tune-up fight before the rematch. 2 weeks after fighting LaMotta, he beats Jackie Wilson. 1 week after the Wilson fight, he fights LaMotta again and defeats LaMotta.
3 fights within 21 days and 2 within 8 days.
The great tragedy is that none of his great fights in his prime were ever filmed. We will never see this guy at his absolute peak where he can knock you out with one punch with either hand. It's like not having the Sinatra recordings from the 50s. We can only imagine it from the old faded newspaper clips.
From the time he lost the first fight to LaMotta in 1943 to 1951, that 8-year time span, he went undefeated in 93 professional fights. This is a phenomenal streak.
He was a tremendous puncher with either hand. Knock you dead puncher. Knock you dead. And a terrific finisher.
He could knock you out going backwards. He could knock you out going forward. And that's why people remember him now as the greatest fighter we've ever had, pound for pound.
His use of rhythm, his timing, his footwork. Ray Robinson was the greatest combination of speed and power that ever came together in one fighter.
And he had a sense of strategy, too, the overall fight. He knew where it was going and how to bide his time and what to deal with in the early rounds in order to accomplish this in the late rounds.
This man was the ultimate warrior in the ring. He was the ultimate dispatcher of a foe. He was a distance fighter, an in-fighter, very scientific, beautiful to see, and he made this brutal, uncivilized, barbaric sport balletic.
Ray Robinson was the perfect fighter because he had no weakness. He had one of the greatest chins of all time. He was never really knocked out in a 25-year career. Another special thing about Robinson, how many times he was able to get off the floor to win. He always rose to the occasion.
Don't give him a rematch. Because once you beat him that way, you'd be sure that the next time he'd adjust and he'd know what to do.
Nobody beat Ray twice until he was 40 years old. His intelligence, his versatility, and his will to win were the reason he won all those rematches. He created a new place for the imagination of a fighter, the way Louis Armstrong or Frank Sinatra or Marlon Brando opened a new room in their art form.
The analogy is close, if I say Shakespeare, only because if you said like Charlie Parker or something, who came along and truly revolutionized jazz, it wasn't that after Ray Robinson, every boxer, like after Charlie Parker, every saxophone player played Charlie Parker. Whereas with Ray Robinson, it was more like suddenly there came along someone who was just sort of up here.
Muhammad Ali was greatly influenced by Ray Robinson, and would freely admit that.
Muhammad Ali is an homage to Ray Robinson. Watching Ali fight, you saw someone aspiring to be Ray Robinson. He was the heavyweight Sugar Ray Robinson.
Muhammad started wearing, the same kind of stuff, and he wanted to dance like Sugar Ray. And he would say it a lot in his training. This is what Sugar Ray do.